What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Team Solemn Circus live video. This is actually going to be first place Labrynth at the last locals that we had here. This is going to be shoutouts to Max for the list. He ended up getting first place. I was not playing Lab. Before we dive into the like, comment, subscribe, we are going to be telling you guys we're not playing any of the Unchained cards. We're not playing any of the transaction rollback, anything like that. The reason why being is like Tempai is really relevant in our locals. So if you play this card here, you know, you're going to be having life points, and the chances are you're going to be able to be beat over really easily by one of those Tempai cards. So choosing we're not playing that. And then for the Unchained cards, it kind of does complement this package a lot. You know, being able to just like set it, then pop it if you have it in your hand, then summon it out so you can go for your copy of Rage. But once again, like Rage isn't that good this format, so it's like you kind of don't want to play either of them. Like it is obviously good to go into a copy of SPs and stuff like that, but this doesn't go going back to the roots of Lab and trying to play those like trap cards. So before diving into like, comment, subscribe, and yeah. We start off with the one Lovely. This is very standard. You definitely don't need to play multiple. We are playing the 2 Lady as well as the triple Ariana. That's it for our actual Lady cards. You know, other than the rest of it are all going to be the copies of the furnitures. So you can notice here that we're not playing the copy of Aria. I believe that's her name there. I always get her mistaken. Yeah, the Arias. We're actually not playing her in the main deck. We're playing her on the side deck. She's only really good going second. You know, going first, you know, you have your normal, or you can just normal this, or you have your traps. You want to see those over this copy of it herself, because a lot of times it doesn't do very much. That's why we're only playing it in the side. And then for your furnitures, we are playing the triple copies of Store V, triple copies of Chandelier, and then of course the double copies of Clock. This is the reason why, like, obviously you're maxing on these two, or these two. You have to kind of max out on these. We're only playing 2 Clock because, you know, we are wanting to maximize it, and like you do have the ability to search it a lot. So that kind of just gives you like 5 copies of it, and it's really nice. And then of course, if you go first, you know, you're able to just set these up, and then you can just obviously play your combo. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, you need to play 3 if you're playing, you know, Arias. Not my list once again, and he ended up winning with it. So definitely going to be a list you can play. But yeah, 3 Clock seems fine when I play it personally myself. But if 2 Clock works for you, then that's going to be good for it. I also always have it in rotation. You know, at one point people were playing only 1 of it. But like now Bistils are a little bit more popular. So you definitely want to have 2 so you can keep it always in rotation. Now we're actually playing some shufflers here. We're playing Medora and we're playing the Keldo. There's a lot of cards in the graveyard this format that actually are disruptive with shuffling it back. So we're looking at copies of, like, let's say the top decks right now. We have Fire King Snake Eye. That often gets hit. Fire King also gets hit. I guess Snake Eye also gets hit, I should have said. And then you got like Branded. You have Ubel. You have of course your copies of Melodious. You have your Tempais. All these decks do get hit heavily by these cards. You know, you're going to shuffle back some of the targets that you actually are going to be summoning back from the graveyard. Or if, you know, you want to be able to like pop it, like with the Tempai cards, you just shuffle them back so they don't get access to them. And then with the Melodious cards, you know, you can even shuffle back the copies of their Couple or the Refrain in the graveyard so that they don't actually get to summon it back out when they hit the Bacha, hit the graveyard. There's all these decks that just have heavy reliance on the cards in the graveyard. And then, of course, if you're going into rogue matchups, it even gets significantly better. And then if you even if you are playing against like a Bestial deck, you can, if you have this in graveyard, you can actually activate the effect. Let's say you're targeting your Lovely in graveyard, you can actually shuffle this back into the deck, or I guess banish the shuffle back the Lovely in the deck so you don't get their Bestial search, and you also don't lose your resources, which is really nice as well. Then for the hand traps, we're playing the triple Nibiru. This is a very staple in Labrynth. You know, discard, not summoning anything is really nice. The triple copies of Ash Blossom because it's the most generic, and then of course the triple copies of Imperm. This is extremely standard playing these 9 in Labrynth. You know, if you're playing the furniture cards, it just comes up a lot where you can just discard them, and then if you have like doubles, you can use them as well. Really cool. Then of course Imperm in the deck is probably the most impactful card that you can play. Then for the spells, we're playing the Labrynth, and the Call of the Grave, as well as the triple copies of Prosperity. You know, we're not playing any of those important extra deck cards. So you could, if you want to, like, you know, in the other builds, you have your Rage, you have your Yamas. Say, like, you don't want to play Extravagance, but you could play Extravagance if you really want to draw 2. But the fact that you can dig for 6 and then choose a card you really want to is just kind of insane. You really have to find that missing piece. Then for the trap cards, you know, the most important part of the deck, we're playing the triple Big Welcome. You know, you definitely have to play 3 of these. You're playing double Welcome Labrynth. You know, it's just going to be the regular. You always have the ability to set it as well. We are playing the Router of the Warlords here. And then we also are playing a Punishment, a D-Barrier as our God card, the copy of Daruma Cannon, and then of course the Ice Dragon's Prison. So this is going to be like really the only normal traps, plus I guess Rivalry if you want to, that you're going to be playing. And so like we're playing the Dogmatic Punishment. That just means that there are going to be extra decks going to be kind of like veered towards that. But all this is like really useful in this format because like even if you're playing against Tenpai, you can actually just flip them face down at the start of the battle phase, which is really nice. Ice Dragon's Prison deals with the Melodious deck, deals with the Tenpai deck, deals with a bunch of the Dragon deck. It does kind of hit Snake Eye a bit as well, but it just absolutely decimates a lot of the Rogue, including Branded too, if you want to hit Branded with it. And then like Punishment just like is go back to the control like aspect of the deck, where if you have these two, of course Rally or the Warlord, bringing it down to the slower pace. You can actually like really just take a lot of games with just like looping even Punishment. And we're not going to talk about D-Barrier because this card is absolutely disgusting. Please ban D-Barrier, honestly. Now moving on to the extra deck. So we are playing the double Chaos Angel. This is because that we do have access to it with like the Arias, of course, in the side deck, as well as the copy of the Lovely or Lady, and then of course our copy of Starby Torby. We're playing the one Typhon. You don't really need multiple. And then we are playing for the Punishment package. We're playing a bunch of fusions. So we're playing the King and of course the mythical whatever. This is like if you banish your Lovely, you can actually summon it back out. We're playing the Entis and the Garua. And then of course we are playing also the Bucephalus. And that's really it for our copies that we have to send. You know, lots of good targets that we want to be able to do. You know, you want to pop another card, you want to draw one, or you have a monster, you just have bigger attack. You can be careful because you have the banish just off of Prosperity, but there are some monsters that are 35 now in the format, or like 32. So definitely be attention when you're playing, sending this to get your additional draw. And then of course, you know, depending on what you happened in the game, you definitely want to be able to play these two at the right moment. And then for the other cards are going to be our Lint cards. We're playing the one Honorable Goddess, the double Muckraker, the Anima, SP, Gloomy, and then of course a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. So this card's actually kind of like the weird one of that you guys are like, well, why are you playing this? So you have other options that you can play. You could play a copy of like Clarissa if you wanted to. You could play a copy of really whatever else you wanted to play instead. I'm kind of blanking out what you could play. If you wanted to play like more dogmatic targets, you could play like a Long. You could play really whatever you will want in this last slot. But a lot of the times I was like, oh, well, or I guess Max was thinking, oh, well, how do I out a bunch of cards? You know, just throwing in Nightmare Phoenix like we did in the Snake Eye deck can just come up a lot. You know, you're not normally going to be discarding off of it or to get the draw effect. But just being able to pop one back row is never really bad. Even if you're popping like the field spell for Tenpai, it can be quite beneficial. That's really it for the extra deck. Now moving on to the side deck. We're playing the triple Arias. This is for when we want to go second. You know, you have lots of trap cards. You can add them to the deck, and you want to have multiple ways of using those trap cards turn 0 because it is a trap deck. Therefore, you're kind of at a disadvantage going second. The one Blackout's last because obviously the card is really good. But if you're going first, if you have it in the hand, it's not going to do very much for you unless you already have pre-knowledge of what your opponent's playing, which you shouldn't normally have. So definitely not going to be the best. We're playing the two different dimension grounders card. Absolutely crazy. You know, essentially shifter for the deck, but in a trap card, which we can set. So come on, we're playing it. And then we are playing the God card going first, Solemn Judgment. You know, we're in this bitch. And then we also are playing the triple Evenly Match for going second. Evenly Match is kind of card. Everyone knows that. You know, definitely a very powerful card, and it's a trap card. And then for the last card, we're playing triple Skill Drain because when we play this card, the skill gets drained. And we are all playing under the big monsters that we have, you know, being the copy of Lovely, being the copy of Lady. And like, not a lot of decks can actually really out these cards, especially if we're playing with a bunch of other cards that we have in our deck, like Big Welcome, being able to bounce their cards, or even Welcome and just getting that resource gains, and then start setting more cards with their copies of the Starby Torby and stuff like that. Like, you always have the resource kind of going. And then when you look at like the combo decks in this format, like Tenpai can't beat this. Melodious cannot beat this at all. Snake Eye can if they open up some of their cards. You know, Flamebirch is a really powerful monster, but chances are they're not going to be able to like get Flamebirch on the field and then kind of like combat the rest of your stuff. And of course, Brandon can get there as well with big monsters. You know, being active in Brandon Fusion, being able to dump right away, and then even like having like Lubellion and Sorinir being pretty big, being able to do stuff like that. but you know, you don't really need to put it in there versus those matchups, I guess. Regardless, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Shout out to Max once again for giving us this deck profile. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Peace.